So the fellowship was recommended to me by a colleague. I applied just as the deadline was ending. I was nervous, as I am always with a lot of things, that maybe mera visa nahi lagega. My highlight of it was watching the Hindu Kush ranges. Do you know what happened in the Hindu Kush ranges? The Aryans came from there, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my, I had goosebumps. I was like, my ancestors came from here. Right. I took a video, and the video was so special because as I was taking the video, my plane tilted, to my side. Hello, namaskar. Welcome to Dr. Ruchika Sharma Unfiltered. I am Dr. Ruchika Sharma. I'm a historian by training. मेरे कुछ और credentials description box में हैं, although none of them are relevant for this channel because this channel is about my travel to 35 cities in the UK. I did a previous video, my first video of the channel, which was more like an introduction explaining why I went to the UK and what all I'm going to cover in the series, what's the concept of the series, this, that and the other. So in case you haven't checked that out, I'm going to link it somewhere here. It'll also be in the description box. You can go check it out. And if you did check out the previous video and you were paying attention, आपको पता होगा that I went there for my fellowship at the University of Essex. So that's the first city I want to discuss for a bit. But Essex, I did a lot, right? Because that is where I was staying. That was my base. So, and plus Essex is like a huge county, right? So there are like so many amazing places. Like it's a very historical town. I'll discuss in a bit. But उसमें मैं काफ़ी घूमी, तो there's going to be like multiple episodes on Essex. This is like the first formative episode on Essex. And before I start talking about, Essex itself and the University of Essex, I just wanted to, just take a brief, like 5-6 minutes and talk about the fellowship itself. So the fellowship was recommended to me by a colleague. And she said, this is something that's tailor-made for you. Why don't you apply? And I am... with a lot of things in my life, I'm slightly lackadaisical. है ना, मैं थोड़ा hands on नहीं हूँ कि हाँ करते हैं and all of that. मैं नहीं हूँ. I mean, there are things about हाँ करते हैं, but like especially when things are like very monotonous and mundane, which is basically like a lot of paperwork कि मुझे fellowship के लिए apply करना है, visa भरना है, before the visa, resume भरना है, form भरना है, application, this, that and the other. वो सब मुझे करना इतना cumbersome लगता है that I just sort of put it off for the last day. So I applied just as the deadline was ending, right? I must have sort of sent it like minutes before the deadline or something. And I wasn't very hopeful कि they will select me, because this was such an amazing fellowship. It was all expenses paid, etc. I was like, wow, this is like premium stuff. मुझे नहीं मिलेगा. Plus, like they'll be like, she does not care about the fellowship. 2 minute पहले forms भेजे हैं. क्या करेगी ये लड़की? इसको नहीं बुलाते. So anyway, so like days passed and I was becoming surer of the fact that ये नहीं होगा. Then I got a call saying that, they had seen some of my work, my public history work, and they were pretty impressed with it. And they would like to call me for an interview. And I was like, wow, yay. So there was first round of interviews. Then there was another round of interviews. If you sort of cleared that round of interviews, you went to the other round of interviews. Then I went to the other round of interviews as well. And then they said, great, you can come to the fellowship. You're part of the 10 fellow fellowship. Like there were 10 of us. I was one of them, which was fantastic. I was like, wow. I am finally going to the UK. But then it was also such a last minute thing because I think all of this happened in April and May ke end mein we had to go. No, June ke beginning mein we had to go, right? And we just had say a month to do everything. The visa in itself is which is time taking, right? So agar wo time pe nahi aata, then the whole point of it becomes like, kyun kar rahi hu main, ye. And you spend so much on the visa. Although it was a very, straightforward thing. You would get a letter from the university saying, they are here, they're going to come here to study. And you sort of attach it with your other documents, etc. You be as truthful as you can on the visa form. And then you just hope for the best. There is no visa interview or anything like that. So for me, it was pretty smooth that way. I was nervous, as I am always with a lot of things, that maybe mera visa nahi lagega. मैं थोड़ा overthink करूँ. So I was like, okay. But हो गया, and I got the visa. I was extremely elated. तब तो पक्का हो गया था that I was going to go. And I was pretty excited about it. The flight itself was interesting. I had to obviously travel from Delhi. There were also people coming from other states. The fascinating thing was it was a British Airways flight. That was my first British Airways flight. I had never sat bettered in a British Airways flight. I know English. And the flight was great. More than anything else, the views were great. And I am somebody who every time, firstly, I love flying. You know, it's a beautiful experience for me. I know there are people who are scared of it. I have never been scared of it. I totally respect that. I understand why that would be the case. I am not. I absolutely love flying. Especially, and this has almost always happened. You know, I go to the counter, request, please, can I get a window seat? And I almost always get it. And this was how it was this time as well. I did get a window seat. So I was like, ab to maze aayenge. And it was gorgeous, you know, because this was a morning flight. So we could see I don't know about the others, but I could see so much. Videos वगैरह में आपको दिख जाएगा. There was this annoying part of the wing which was blocking some of the view, but most of it was pretty clear and I could see. My highlight of it was watching the Hindu Kush ranges. Do you know what happened in the Hindu Kush ranges? The Aryans came from there, and when I saw it, I was like, oh my, I had goosebumps. I was like, my ancestors came from here. यहाँ उन्होंने सोम प्लांट क्या कहते हैं डिस्कवर किया था, देखा था, whatever, right? Where the somras comes from. That is where they found it, in these ranges, right? This is the route that they took. And in case agar aap curious ho, what was the route that the Aryans took, there is a video somewhere I will link in my history channel, my other channel, which if you're interested in Indian history, you should certainly subscribe. So coming back to the point, I was just thrilled. Can you imagine seeing that same place? I had a whole scene going on how these people would have come on horses, etc. My people. So I was thrilled, right? I took a video, and the video was so special because as I was taking the video, my plane tilted, you know, to my side, right? So I could just sort of see it even closer. I took it as a sign and I was like, oh wow, we really want you to see the Hindu Kush. It was fascinating, you know, it's like my first brush with history on the trip. There'll be many brushes with history. And then, of course, I throughout would just poke my nose out and try and see as much. But there was a lot of the times it was just water. तो क्या करेंगे उसका? So there were times I got bored. Food in the BA flight was, you know, nothing great, but also nothing bad. ठीक है, काम चलाओ, खा लिया. And then, of course, we pulled into London. You know, you can see the video. This is my pulling into London video. First thing that hit me when I sort of exited the plane and I entered London was the AQI was just brilliant. You know, you can actually feel clean air. I don't know. Maybe I can, you guys can't. I don't know. But it just smells different. It feels different. It feels fresh, you know. And I miss it so much right now because, you know, in Delhi right now, the air is just terrible. Oh my God. So just the AQI over there would be like 20 or something, you know. London maybe 50 or something. But like in Essex, it would be 20 or something, right? Because it was a county, there was more greenery over there, this, that, and the other. So from London, the fellowship people, the really nice people, they had arranged cars for us. So we collected our baggage, all of my baggage. Did make it. I have never had baggage issues. Knock on wood, bhai. This can be a huge issue. I have heard nightmares of people's bags just going into some other flight and, you know, वो पहुंच गए लंदन, बैग पहुंच गया रोमानिया. तो मेरे साथ ये नहीं हुआ. Right? मेरे बैग भी लंदन पहुंचे, मैं भी लंदन पहुंची, गनीमत. The views from Heathrow, that's where we landed, Heathrow Airport, to Essex, the university, just gorgeous. I just loved it. I was like, my God, this is such a nice, clean, beautiful, sundar place. And it was just, I just couldn't stop looking outside. I am not a very, I will make friends on this trip person. I did speak about this in my first video as well. So I did speak to people. You know, I am not rude. I will speak to people if they speak to me. But I'd rather like have my headphones on and look at the views and just, like just get lost in the moment rather than talk a lot. Back in Essex, we arrived in Essex. This was a huge university, and I was so glad because JNU must be double, but it reminded me of my JNU days. For those of you not aware, I did my MA, MPhil, PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University. It's a university in Delhi. It's a fantastic, used to be a fantastic university. Now the government sort of dismantled it. But anyway, it used to be a great university when I was doing my degrees. All right. It used to be this huge university, very green. I used to love walking, take long walks. And I used to stay in the hostel over there. Absolutely stunning place. So Essex reminded me so much of that. And I was like, wow, finally, just walk a lot and feel, you just feel so safe as a woman to walk. Like I would take in Essex University walks at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night or whatever, even 1 o'clock at night, because, it's just such a safe place. Then I was told that my room is on the 3rd floor, which is great. I love, staying in rooms on higher floors because just the view outside is much better, in my opinion. But the only rub was I had to pull my bags all the way. People helped and all, but still it was just annoying because these are really heavy bags. And I overpack all the time, so they were really heavy. So the room was great, right? You can see it in the photos. It was nice, comfy, cozy. The bed was a little small in width, but theek hai. Fine, I will make do. I've stayed in hostel for 6 years of my life, so theek hai yaar. No big deal. I'm kind of used to this life. But the most gorgeous part about the room was it overlooked this gorgeous view, this beautiful garden, and there were rabbits living in that garden. Oh my God! I was just, the moment I drew the curtain, there were these rabbits, and I was like, oh my God, they are adorbs. I would wake up to these rabbits every morning doing everything, and just going into the bushes, disappearing, going to their little houses. It was fascinating. I was so glad that I've got the room where I can see the rabbits from. And then of course, once I was sort of settled in my room, I was asked to come and get my food. The food situation, again, it was completely paid for. So by the way, my flight tickets were paid for. The car ride was paid for. The food was paid for. We would get a £30 allowance to eat every day, which is around roughly 3,000 rupees, which is a lot. We could eat a lot in that. If, enough cafes were open. Most of the times they were not open. That was a bit of a rub, right? Because then you're not left with a lot of choices, etc. I am a meat eater. So thankfully, I did have a lot of choices, but there were people in the fellowship who were not eating meat, and that became a problem. Once I was sort of, slightly had freshened up in my room, I had to quickly, go and grab my dinner because there were these times where the cafes would close and then you wouldn't get anything. So to sort of rush. So I'm getting out of my room, I'm rushing, and I'm trying to find the cafe. And this man approaches me and says, are you looking for some place, can I help? And I was like, yeah, I'm looking for that cafe. And he said, sure, I can take you there. I'm from the university. I was like, okay. So I'm sort of walking with this man, and then this person, out of nowhere starts talking and, says, my sweater looks really nice on me. And I'm like, what is happening? And then this person, starts to sort of proposition me if I want to have coffee with him or whatever. Now, this is a university. It's an undergrad university, okay? So my first question obviously is, how old are you? Because I was at that point, I'm 33 years old, right? So it's very important. Of course, university mein PhD bhi ho sakta hai, aisa kya hai? But I just wanted to make sure that, whatever this person's age is needs to be sort of determined. And that person's like, he was slightly taken aback that was one of my first questions. He's like, I'm 23 years of age. I was like, no, I'm 33 and I don't think that's appropriate. And that person was completely taken aback because he was like, I have dated older women all the time. I said, no, this is not how it works with me, because he's 23. He's just hormones. What am I going to do with that? And plus, my idea is, if I am 33, he's 23, what am I going to talk to him about? Like if I can't talk to somebody, why will I go on a date with them? Why will I have coffee with them? Like, I'm 33. I mean, hormones are great and all, but I need more than that, right? I need somebody to talk to. And plus, it's also just, keep everything, whatever dating situations you guys get into, keep it age appropriate. यार बहुत important होता है कि तुम उसको थोड़ा age appropriate रखो. मेरे लिए तो बहुत important होता है, right? So 10 years was just too much. So to, unfortunately turn him down. But the problem with turning somebody down in the same university that you are in, you bump into them so many times. I bumped into this person so many times. And they were always, he was always hopeful. And I was like, yaar, ye nahi hoonga. I'm sorry. I just felt sad, but also like, kind of felt that I think men should know boundaries, right? If I've said no, कि नहीं है कि 3 दिन बाद मेरा हाँ हो जाएगा भाई, नहीं होगा. Anyway, so apart from this, that person did, by the way, ऐसा नहीं है कि अच्छा, okay, now that you won't go on a date with me, I'm not going to take you to the cafe. He did drop me to the cafe, where I had a decent meal. I had a salad, but the best thing on the menu was these pepperoni fries. Oh my God, you can see it in the photo. I love pepperoni. I mean, I love ham also. I love bacon. Just this finer things and like great stuff, right? So that with, cheese and fries, like what's not to like? It was just, and they also had this marinara sauce to tie it all together. And I was like, wow, this is great. I came back to my room after that, after taking like a short walk. But I came back and the first thing I did was to book a train to London for the next day. Firstly, I couldn't wait to get to London. But also next day was my birthday. And I wanted to celebrate my birthday. And there was a friend of mine who was coming from Heidelberg to London, to keep me company on my birthday. So obviously I had to go. So the train ticket was expensive because trains in the UK have been privatized. Right? They were nationalized at one point of time, so the fares were pretty reasonable. Privatized ho gaya hai, they're not so reasonable. So London from Essex is just an hour away, where the university was. The station is called Hythe. It's just an hour away by train. And booking just a day prior would really get you expensive tickets. But the good thing is there is something called as off hour and on hour or something like that, right? So if you are sort of booking a ticket in the rush hour or something like that, right, that is going to cost you huge amounts, right? Because that is where everybody's booking tickets, this, that and the other. But if you're booking an off-hour ticket, then it'll be cheaper, right? Something like that. And there was this app that I had downloaded called Trainline to help somebody if you are planning your UK trip. Brilliant app. Throughout the trip, I used that app. It not only tells you about trains but also buses. You can book. I got a first time sign up discount, just for the first trip, but I got it for £11, which is also a lot. So £11 is like 1100. But anyway, I did book it because I really wanted to go and I was really excited. And I booked it, and that's how my day ended. Another important thing when we got to the UK, that time the sun would set at 10 p.m. Like there would be sunlight at 8 p.m, at 7 p.m. It's so dystopic. I've lived in a country throughout where the sun goes down max at 6, or during winters around 5-ish, or 7 o'clock during peak summers or something like that, right? But this is a place where in summers, because of the Greenwich Mean Time, I'm hoping you know what the GMT is. I will be talking about Greenwich because I did go to Greenwich, not just to see the GMT, but also a lot of other good things, but we'll talk about it. That is where the Prime Meridian passes, right? The Royal Observatory of Greenwich. I did visit there. They charge you a hefty fees just to watch the Prime Meridian. I am like, yaar, line hi to hai. But because the Prime Meridian passes through that, there are these weird sunset and sunrise thingies, right? Sun would set at 10 p.m. Very dystopic, but also very nice because I'm a woman and I'm more attuned to finding the daytime to be safer than the nighttime. You know, this is just how my psyche works. I'm sure it works like that for a lot of other women as well. So I found myself a lot safer coming back at 9 and 10, although even later, you know, during the slightly more winter months, I did come back at 10, 11 as well. Aisa nahi hai. But it's just that if the sun is out or if there is still sunlight, right, if the sky is lit, it's just slightly safer. That's a very psychological thing, I think. I was anyway extremely jet lagged, and I slept very happily but also very excitedly because next day I had to go to London, and I will tell you what all I did in London, how I celebrated my birthday in London the next day, how I came back from London, and how London left me red-eyed, by the way. Always a thing with London, maybe because of my contacts more than anything else, but anyway, London was a lot of fun the next day, and that's going to be the next video. Please do let me know आपको ये वीडियो कैसा लगा. अगर अच्छा लगा हो तो प्लीज सब्सक्राइब कीजिएगा, and please do let me know in the comments what you liked about it. If you like the video, do share and like the video. Alright, thank you, bye, see you next time.